So in the last video today, I'm going to be talking about fermentation. So in respiration, we have glycolysis, pyruvate processing, the citric acid cycle, and then the electron transport chain. Okay, and so this will make a whole bunch of ATP in the cell. But sometimes we aren't able to have this reaction go because we run out of oxygen in cells that need oxygen to respire. And when that happens, rather than the cell just dying right away, we have this option to go through fermentation. Okay, and the goal of fermentation is to regenerate NAD+, so we can rerun glycolysis. Okay, so if we decide to go through fermentation, it means we don't do the citric acid cycle and we don't do the electron transport chain. So fermentation is an emergency system in respiring cells that regenerates stocks of NAD+. Okay, so here again we have our glucose and our pyruvate, and remember we generated in glycolysis, we generated 2 NADHs, okay, which means that we had to have 2 NAD+. Okay, so if we can't regenerate this, and this regeneration usually happens in the electron transport chain, and this requires oxygen, then we need to go through fermentation. In fermentation, we will oxidize our NADH back to NAD+, so that we can go through glycolysis again. So we have our pyruvate, right? And what can happen is you can get different types of fermentation. So some organisms, like us, are able to undergo lactic acid fermentation. So the product of this reaction is lactic acid. This is a little bit toxic. And again, we generate our NAD+ so that we can run glycolysis. Other organisms, right, are able to undergo alcohol fermentation and generate alcohol. And so in this reaction, right, we have pyruvate, which is converted to pyruvic acid, and then CO2 is lost, so we lose one of the carbons here, and this makes acetaldehyde, which is then converted into ethanol, right? And you just have 2 carbons in this molecule of ethanol. And in this reaction, again, NADH is reduced or oxidized into NAD+. And so these waste products, as I said, can be toxic, or we can use these to make beer or wine or cheeses or all sorts of things that are tasty. And we can use them in other commercial and agricultural purposes. And so that's all I really want to point out about fermentation, and I look forward to seeing everyone in class. Thanks, bye.